The summer of 1844 in Texas was hotter than usual. A small group of Texas Rangers, led by Captain Jack Hayes, set out on what they thought would be a simple reconnaissance mission. They were to survey the land around the Nueces River, not far from a recent battle site. What was meant to be a routine mission quickly turned into a brutal fight for survival. The Rangers, Perry and Acland among them, didn't expect to encounter the Comanche warriors, but their paths would soon cross in the most violent way possible. The Comanche were a fierce and relentless force, known for their brutal raids, and this time they were ready to hunt down any trespassers on their land. The mission had begun innocently enough. The Rangers had no reason to suspect they would be ambushed. But, as they moved deeper into the wild, the sound of distant cries filled the air. Those familiar war cries that struck fear into the hearts of many. In a split second, everything changed. It didn't take long for Perry and Acland to find themselves in the thick of the fight. Wounded, the two Rangers knew their chances of survival were slim. They were far from any help, with the Comanche closing in fast. The next hours would be a brutal test of endurance, pain, and sheer willpower. Despite their injuries, Perry and Acland fought back. The terrain was unforgiving. The heat was suffocating. Yet they managed to crawl, drag each other through the underbrush, hoping for a miracle. They tried to hide their tracks, but the blood they left behind was like a trail leading directly to them. They weren't just fighting the Comanche now. They were fighting the wilderness itself. But with every passing moment, the danger grew. The Comanche warriors were relentless, tracking their every move. The two Rangers were left with nothing but their knives, the sound of war drums echoing in the distance, and their growing desperation. At one point, Perry and Acland separated, each thinking the other had perished. Perry, unable to see through his swollen, blood-streaked eyes, pushed forward, his strength slowly draining away. Yet somehow, he made it to San Antonio, barely alive, covered in blood and grime. His wounds were severe, but his survival was a testament to the raw will to live that had kept him going through the unimaginable. It was a miracle that Perry was found. When the Rangers saw him, they barely recognized him. He was a walking ghost, his body scarred from the grueling ordeal. But Perry's first words were not of his suffering. Instead, he begged them to find Acland. The bond between them was unbreakable. Despite everything, they both knew they couldn't leave the other behind. The rescue team set out immediately, determined to find Acland before it was too late. But when they found him, he was in an even worse condition than Perry. Nearly unrecognizable, Acland had fought with everything he had. And yet, the battle had taken a toll. He too was covered in blood, his body broken, but his spirit unyielding. He wasn't ready to die. Not yet. The story of these two men, their courage, their fight against impossible odds, and their unbreakable bond, became one of the most famous survival stories in the history of the Old West. It wasn't just a story about Texas Rangers. It was a story about resilience, bravery, and what it truly means to never give up. But this wasn't just the story of Perry and Acland. Their survival was also a tale of the many others who had come before them, Rangers who had fought and died on the front lines of a dangerous and unforgiving land. Every battle, every ambush, every war cry was a reminder that the Old West was a place where only the strong survived. As the Rangers made their way back to San Antonio, they knew their lives would never be the same. They had faced the Comanche, and they had survived. But their victory was bittersweet. The scars of war ran deep, both physically and mentally. And yet, they kept fighting. For the Rangers who made it back, the story wasn't over. They would continue to fight for their land, their families, and their comrades. The Old West was unforgiving, but it had created men like Perry and Acland, men who would face anything and everything with the same determination and grit. But here's where you come in. This isn't just a history lesson. This is about you. What would you do in a situation like this? Could you survive the unimaginable? Or would the odds be too much to overcome? Let me know in the comments below. Your thoughts and opinions are important, and I love hearing from you. If you're fascinated by the Old West and the incredible stories of survival, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. We've got more untold tales coming your way, and you don't want to miss out.